Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Terrence Wilson. I'm the Regional Community Engagement Director for IDRA, the Intercultural Development Research Association. I'm here today speaking about a coalition that we've convened of folks from across the state, students, parents, educators that are against classroom censorship. And so we've come together and we've had the following statement: that our educators, leaders should create laws, policies, and practices that promote diverse, equitable, inclusive, and culture sustaining school environments. And we believe that these bills do the opposite. This bill claims to promote and protect intellectual freedom. It does the opposite by silencing educators, mandating the adoption of inaccurate concepts and points of view, prohibiting truthful classroom conversations, and punishing those schools that allow students and educators to engage critically with the impact of systemic racism and marginalization in this country. This bill claims to seek to avoid situations where students feel discomfort, guilt, or distress on account of that student's race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin. However, we believe that this bill sends a clear message to Black, Indigenous, Latino, and other marginalized students that they are unworthy of protection from the discomfort and distress that they will inevitably feel from the prohibition of discussion of their experiences currently, as well as their history. We believe that this bill threatens much needed school resources, and not only will this penalty comprise quality of education in Georgia's already underfunded schools, but it will also affect the education programs and instructional practices of folks who are looking to build culturally sustaining school environments. We believe finally that these bills will have an intimidating effect on educators and students across the state. Other states have already seen multiple instances of teachers and administrators being placed on leave, students feeling fearful of classroom conversation, and value programs being canceled due to the chilling effect of other legislation in other places. The additional burden of adhering to vague, restrictive, ahistorical, and sometimes contradictory learning standards is unfair to our teachers and students, especially as they continue to face challenges related to the pandemic. We believe that punishing children, schools, and families for political points is wrong. The sponsors of the bill fail to imagine a Georgia that values all of our children in schools. Sponsors of this bill fail to imagine a Georgia that supports schools and teaching all of our history, the good and the bad, so that students are prepared with knowledge of the mistakes of our past and equipped to build a better future. Their failure of imagination is their loss. But we will continue to be relentless in calling this legislation what it is, a political move to use taxpayer dollars as a weapon to wield against teaching the truth. This bill will be directly harmful to Black, Indigenous, Latino, and other marginalized students who experience racism right now, today. And for these reasons, we hope that you all will not pass this bill out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you have? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on behalf of your coalition, if you don't mind, of the 11 divisive concepts, I'm going to, you don't agree with any of them, all of them, some of them?
I think that the point that I'm trying to make is that we're limiting discussion of these concepts. And, I, like you, believe that our students should be prepared to come out of school and go on to further education, being able to talk about critically issues around race, issues around classism, issues around marginalization. We don't believe that this bill gives them that opportunity.
But correct me if I'm wrong, the bill doesn't say you can't discuss this stuff. It just says that you can't say that you can't teach that one race is superior to another. You can't teach an individual solely based on his or her race, so on and so forth. I mean, I'm from all the testimony, it seems like the second one seems to be the most controversial.
I don't have the bill. That's one about.
Well, that's the one on the United States of America and state of Georgia are fundamentally or systematically racist. I mean, is that? Would you say that's accurate? You don't support the other stuff, but maybe that one you think should be discussed?
I think that it's important
or allowed to be taught.
No, it's important for us to be able to let our educators and our students have these conversations so that they're prepared to go into a diverse workforce where they're going to be able to have to understand racism and its impact on students. And we believe that this is the incorrect approach.
Well, there's nothing in the bill that prohibits that, but there is something in the bill that says you can't say that whites are better than blacks, or you can't say blacks are better than whites. That's what it's saying. You don't think that should be taught in the schools, correct?
I think the point is that we have our students in our state that are getting that message in all kinds of different ways, right? When they go to a school named after a Confederate individual, when they go and they experience racism in their own daily life. And so we want students to be able to have those conversations. And so we're concerned that if you pass this bill, that educators will be afraid to have those conversations, that there will be a financial penalty to having those conversations about race and racism.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Senator Jackson, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you for being here. You said that you were a collection of several different organizations. Are this local in the Atlanta area or across the state or across this nation?
Some of us are regional organizations, some of us are national organizations, some of us are local here to the Atlanta area.
Mhm. And and your voice is unified,
Yes, sir.
that you're not in support of this legislation.
Yes, sir.
And I would assume it's broad, black, white,
Folks
male, female.
folks from all different perspectives, genders, nationalities, different parts of the state.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, one other question, please, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Would you know if we pass this, what ways will Georgia have to enforce this law on the teachers of this great state?
So I think that, one of the most dangerous parts of this bill is that the 10% penalty to funding. We, as has already been mentioned here, this is the first time that we're scheduling to fully fund QBE over the past, few decades. And so I think it's important for us to understand that can have a real impact on schools that have already been chronically underfunded.
So you're saying if one teacher make a mistake, the whole school system can be in jeopardy of losing its funding?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.